Ladies and gentlemen, we're back again with another interesting Jay Slater video. And I'll tell you now, we have so much to get through. This is probably going to be done over a number of videos. For those that don't know, Jay Slater's inquest took place today. I believe it has been adjourned because Debbie Duncan has made a plea. She wants Ayub and Rocky in the courtroom. She wants to see them face to face. She wants answers. She wants to talk to them. In fact, it's been said that the Met Police have been trying to locate Ayub over these past couple of weeks. What's also been said, ladies and gentlemen, is that Brad and Lucy have denied who they are. Now, tell me what that means. These are two people also that the Met Police have been looking for but have failed to track down. Literally, ladies and gentlemen, we have so much to get through, so make sure you don't go anywhere. Hit that like button. Let's get into it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is extremely interesting. As you can see here, ladies and gentlemen, there is so much to actually get through. Activity on Jay's bank account. We're talking about inconsistencies with time. We're talking about phone movement. We have a witness, Josh Forshaw. This is the guy that apparently met Jay and Brad and Lucy on a flight to Tenerife. That guy. Knife situation, the Rolex situation. We're back at it again because there's new information, there's new details surrounding the story. But what we're going to do is start right here at the beginning, ladies and gentlemen, where it says friends can't be located. Now, this is extremely questionable. Why can't the friends be located? When we're talking about the friends, we're talking about Lucy and Brad. They're the two names that have been mentioned. It says here, the coroner, Dr. Adley, is explaining Jay's friends who were with him in Tenerife, Lucy Law and Brad Hargreaves, cannot be located. He goes on to say, we can't find them, and they have denied who they are. And we have had police looking for them, but we can't find them. But Dr. Adley, the coroner, is confirming that police have in fact tried to reach out to Lucy and Brad. They've been unsuccessful. How on earth is Brad and Lucy, Jay's best friends, not at the inquest? It's been said that Brad is in Greece with his mum and Lucy is where? Oh, in Tenerife. It sounds like Lucy has never left Tenerife ever since this incident. She went quiet, went to Lanzarote, and then once Jay's body had been found and it kind of blew over for her, she was back over in Tenerife. After this mysterious situation took place with your friend in Tenerife with mysterious men, you're back over there like nothing ever happened. And for Brad, his best friend, knowing that the inquest was today, why didn't you just move the holiday? Like, this day is so important to Jay's family, but no, Brad and Rachel decided to go on holiday. It's been mentioned that that holiday was booked last October. That's even worse, because then that gives someone enough time to postpone the holiday. No, they still decided to go on the holiday, which is pretty embarrassing and shameful in my opinion. What I do know is the court did adjourn for about half an hour. Apparently, one of the three witnesses that they were looking for, three witnesses is Lucy, Brad, or Ayub. They're looking for Ayub as a witness. One of the three had come forward, so it's being said by the media, and therefore, the courtroom had to adjourn for about half an hour. Now, we haven't heard anything since about that person. Who it was, if they're going to be saying anything. I mean, at this point, Debbie and Warren are expecting all of the witnesses to stand up and tell them exactly what happened. And therefore, the case is going to get adjourned until they can get all of these guys into court. They all have to go and stand in front of the judge, in front of the family, and tell them exactly what happened. They've got questions that these guys can't preempt. So it would be interesting to kind of see what their characteristics are like when being asked these questions, especially for someone like Ayub, who we do know does a lot of waffling. And even Rocky, because Rocky doesn't know what to say. Rocky is someone that is literally being puppeteered by Ayub. He can't speak without Ayub standing right next to him. So it would be interesting to see what Rocky would have to say. But on the fact that these guys are witnesses, there is no obligation to come forward. But if they don't come forward, it just makes them look guilty of something, in my opinion. Can we see Ayub doing witness statements? I mean, Ayub tried to fabricate a witness statement about me. Like, he tried to tell the world that I went to Bow Police Station and made a statement. Some fabricated BS that he had made up, proving my theory right, that this is a fabricator. This is someone that pulls the wool. And he's been doing that since the very, very beginning of this case. If they refuse to go to court, then what next? What happens then? This first bit right here, ladies and gentlemen, is extremely questionable. Brad and Lucy You know, why are you not there? There is no excuse not to be there. Although I have over the months and weeks slightly changed my opinion towards Brad, I think it's slightly embarrassing that he hasn't turned up. But for Lucy, by Lucy not showing up, it tells us everything we need to know. It tells us that she's been lying. I want to know if they're going to whack up the document where it confirms Lucy said she was at the Airbnb with Jay. She stayed there with Jay, because according to those guys in Spain, they've got that on a legal document that's been signed off by the judge. Lucy confirming to the police that she stayed at the Airbnb with Jay, and when she woke up, he was gone. Maybe that's one of the reasons why she hasn't turned up to the inquest, because she knows she's done a lot of lying. To a degree, the same could be said for Brad. It seems that this guy, Josh Forshaw, is Brad's spokesperson. And the reason I say that is because he's a person that magically met these guys on a flight to Tenerife, but he's got all of the information that you would think someone like Brad would have. Because according to this guy, Josh, Jay decided to send all of the pictures and all of this information over to him. Jay doesn't even know who he is. Why would Jay be sending the Rolex photo to him? Why would Jay be sending a picture of him and Ayub to him? Why would Jay send a picture of him holding 2 knives down his trousers to him? This guy is confirming that Jay sent him a photo of 2 knives down his trousers. Now, he's not verifying that it is Jay in the photo. He's just saying there was a photo of a person with 2 knives down their trousers, and it was sent from Jay's phone. It was sent by Jay. The only problem is he said he never confirmed that with the Spanish police, but he did let the Lancashire police know when he landed back in the UK. However, he let them know he didn't show them the evidence. He didn't provide them with a photo. So for all we know, this guy could be making it up. One of the biggest questions now is who's Josh Forshaw? Because he more or less gives an alibi to Brad. He confirms Brad's FaceTime call. See, the only problem is his times are wrong. Now, for those that don't know, this guy, Josh Forshaw, he went on a video link in the courtroom, live in the flesh, in front of the family. And he said all of this stuff. So we're going to be skipping back and forth, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot to get through. Like I said to you guys at the beginning of the video, make sure you hit the like button. Do subscribe if you are newly watching. We're going to move on to this guy, Josh. This is the first time we're hearing about Josh, but we have seen Josh's message. This is the message that we reacted to a little while ago, where a person says they met Jay, Lucy, and Brad on a flight to Tenerife. They become friends. They spent time together over that 3-day period. Brad was with this guy when Jay was en route to the Airbnb. Instead of Jay sending Brad the pictures, instead of Jay contacting Brad at that point, he's contacting this guy, Josh, who he doesn't even know. And he's sending him pictures and he's letting him know that I've just stolen this watch and I'm going to sell it for 10 quid. In the same message, Josh then confirms and verifies and gives more or less an alibi to Brad by saying, I was with Brad in between 5 and 7. We spoke to Jay on the phone and through FaceTime. He verifies that for Brad. So at this point, Brad's got his alibi. Brad was not at the Airbnb. He's with this guy, Josh, at their apartment. And when we say their apartment, we're talking about the apartment that Debbie paid for Jay and Brad. So why is Jay at the Airbnb and Brad at the apartment that Debbie paid for, and he hasn't even got the audacity to turn up to the inquest? Either way, we've got this guy randomly out of the blue called Josh Forshaw. He throws Ayub under the bus in the message. He doesn't mention Ayub in the courtroom as far as I've read, but he throws Ayub under the bus in the message by saying the 2 Somalian boys had a lot of cocaine. They're the guys that Jay and whoever were getting the cocaine from. They also go on to mention in that same message that Jay had a drug debt. Now, I don't know how they would know if Jay had a drug debt. But then why is it not being mentioned in court? Unless we're yet to get to that part. I don't know. There's so much more to that message, and I think we're going to have to, again, go back to that message to kind of connect it with what's being said in court. Because that message can only have come from this guy, Josh, and the name Nikki, everyone thinks it's Rocky, but big up Mark Smith. He's already debunked it. The name belongs to Nikki. The name Nikki has been scrubbed out of the message. What it says in court here, firstly, it says the next witness, Josh Forshaw, met Jay and his friends as they queued to board the plane from Manchester to Tenerife. Josh later shared contact details of Jay and met the group at the music festival. Josh said that Jay seemed dead happy. I don't know if I would use the word dead after the guy's just been found dead. Doesn't make any sense. I mean, he seemed happy and he was off his head on drugs. So that's what he said. He was off his head on drugs. So it says here MDMA was taken. Josh, who said he had drunk 10 to 15 vodka shots that night. Now, when he says he had drunk, is he referring to Jay had drunk 10 to 15 vodka shots that night? Or is he saying he consumed 10 to 15 vodka shots that night? I'm going to assume that he means he consumes 10 to 15 shots of vodka that night. He said that Jay asked him to break an MDMA pill in half for him and Bradley. It also says here MDMA is also known as ecstasy. Just to let you guys know, the toxicology report was done. We have skipped that bit for now, but we will get back to it. I mean, we've already spoken about the toxicology report in a number of videos ago, but for the sake of this inquest, we will talk about it again. He's basically saying he had 10 to 15 vodka shots. So that's him verifying that they were getting waived. Now, remember, what we know of Jay is he was drinking Henny. Now, for anyone that's not a drinker, if you drink Henny and mix that with vodka, you are finished. You could potentially be in the state that Jay was in when we see him waved out of his face with his t-shirt off. But then the next step for Jay after that would be throwing up and not being able to move. Like I said to you guys before, if he would have got into that car with Ayub and Rocky, then he would have been the one sleeping. He would have needed to either stop off to throw up, or he would have got into that car and he would have conked out. So I'm surprised when Ayub had the video of Rocky sleeping in the front of the car, knocked out, and him and Jay were filming as they were getting out the car, according to what Ayub says, which most of us don't believe. It doesn't make any sense. The state of Jay in that video doesn't match up to the sound of Jay in the audio. The sound of Jay at the Airbnb when Rocky's sleeping in the car sounds like a compos mentis Jay, a Jay that isn't smashed out of his face, a Jay that knows what he is doing. Jay did get any more higher than he did at that point in time. He only got more higher than he did whilst he was at the Airbnb. For some reason, this guy, Josh, is trying to make it look like Jay was drunk out of his face. Jay was taking MDMA. Look, he asked me to break an MDMA pill in half so he could share it with Brad. So we move on to the watch for a minute. The watch theft claims. The inquest is now hearing about claims Jay had stolen a Rolex watch worth £12,000 before his disappearance. The inquest has heard Jay sent a message to Josh in which he said ended up getting thrown out with 2 Marley kids, just took an AP expensive watch strap, in brackets. I don't know what they mean by that. Obviously the strap, but the bezel is going to be worth more money than the strap, the watch strap. I don't know why they put the watch strap in brackets, but it says we just took the AP off somebody and was on our way to sell it. Jay sent that message to Josh. Now, why Josh? Why didn't Jay send that message to Brad? Why? Why didn't he send it to Lucy? Why didn't he send it to Brandon? Why would Jay send this message with a picture of him in the back of a car? Why would he send that to Josh? Out of all people, someone that he's only just met. Where's Lucy and Brad to verify who this Josh guy actually is? So it's Josh Forshaw that confirms Jay sent him that message, because Josh also goes into talking about the 2 knives. He says that Jay sent him a picture showing 2 knives down his trousers. I mean, this sounds so fake, it's unbelievable. You got Jay taking a picture wrapped up in a blanket with a cigarette in his hand, and he's also sending a similar type of image where he's looking down, taking a picture down with knives in his trousers. A picture that can't even be verified as fact at this moment in time. This guy could literally be making this up. The judge actually stuck it all over Josh in this hearing. First, Josh says that Jay told him he was going to sell the watch strap for 10 quid. Josh claims that this is slang for £10,000 and not £10. The judge responded by saying to Josh, you need to provide some evidence on social media to that the 10 quid is slang for £10,000. As you can imagine, Josh must have been taken back by that. His response was, are you serious? Question mark. The coroner replies, I am absolutely serious. I want proof from somewhere that it is common usage that £10,000 is 10 quid. basically. Josh was then given 1 hour to provide the evidence. So the court was adjourned for lunch. After court, they came back, and then it was instantly asked to Josh if he had been able to provide the evidence. His response was, "It's used in my area, but I can't show you that it was what Jay intended. It was my interpretation." PCI Rachel Hickson, who works in the Lancashire area, when she was asked if she was aware of the term, she basically said, "It's not something I've heard prior, but I've consulted with a few colleagues, and certainly in the east of the country, like Blackburn, it is a commonly known term." Now, for people that don't know, that lingo was actually created off the back of someone being a baller, someone having or making a lot of money to the point where £10,000 seemed like 10 quid. Now, who in their right frame of mind is going to be referring to £10,000 as 10 quid, like little man change? That person has to be a multi-millionaire. They're the only type of people that are going to be referring to £10,000 as 10 quid. So why would Jay be referring to £10,000 as 10 quid? Now, looking at Jay's pictures, especially from when he was at 15, 16, he does look like he was well looked after. North Face jackets, Stone Island jackets, Moncler jackets. That stuff ain't cheap. But that's not to say Jay was a person that had so much money he could be referring to £10,000 as 10 quid. So why would Jay be using that word? As you guys know, he didn't use the words because that message, in my opinion, was fabricated by Ayub Qasim. Of all of the people involved, for someone like Ayub Qasim, who's actually close to people that are wearing diamond watches, diamond chains that are costing you 6 figures, the watches are costing you close to 6 figures. Let's be real now, Ayub might not be one of those guys that are flexing that type of material himself, but he's definitely around people that flex like that. The point I'm trying to make here is Ayub is the perfectly placed person to be using that type of wordplay. Jay has probably never seen £10,000 on cash in his life. When do apprentice bricklayers ever have £10,000 in cash? But Josh Forshaw, we're not finished with him, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very interesting takes from him, which we have to dissect, that we have to understand, try and make sense of them, go back to information that we already know, and try and connect those dots. In fact, before I show you that witness list, I want to take us back here quickly because these are things that Josh was speaking about in the courtroom. We've got time frame, phone call, and taxi plans. Very, very interesting. Let's start with the taxi plans at the bottom here. Around 7:30 a.m. on the day Jay disappeared, he video called his friend Bradley. Now, this is extremely questionable. Why? Because 7:30 is when Jay put the picture on his Snapchat of him wearing a blanket. It was 8:30, according to what we've been told through the media, when Brad and Jay had that video call. But it says here, according to the coroner and according to what's being said in court today, it was 7:30 in the morning. Goes on to say Jay told Bradley he didn't have any money for the taxi, to which Bradley said, "Just get a taxi here and then jump out and don't pay for it or we'll pay for it." Why would you encourage someone to bump the taxi even though you've got money to pay for it? It's also funny that Brad never mentioned that in the interview with Isla. And the message that we got from Josh that was meant to be for Debbie, that was published after Brad's interview with Isla. But now it says here 7:30 in the morning. Brad and Josh, and this is Josh's word basically. This is Josh confirming what Brad is saying was true to a degree, because Brad said he was at a FaceTime with Jay, but there are other parts here that Brad never mentioned. He did mention about getting a taxi, and I remember him saying, Jay said, "Okay, I'll get a taxi then." So what happened to that? What happened to Jay getting the taxi? That was at 7:30. It's been mentioned that Jay left the Airbnb at 8 o'clock. In fact, we're going to talk about the phone signal because we've got some information on that as well, ladies and gentlemen. But these time frames are not adding up at this moment in time. They're not adding up. They don't make sense. Moving on to the phone call, it says, in this phone call, Jay still sounded under the influence, according to Josh, but was not distressed or begging for help or in danger. So he still sounded under the influence, but was not distressed, was not begging for help, and was not in danger. However, when Lucy says she spoke to Jay at 8:50, which can't be the case because Jay's phone died at 8:49, according to the phone forensics. But when Lucy spoke to Jay, it was a totally different story. It was a totally different Jay to the one that Josh and Brad have described. Taking what they're saying here, that phone call took place at 7:30, Lucy got the call at 8:50 or around 8:50. That's nearly an hour and a half difference. Now, we're not too sure if these timelines are accurate. Josh claims that it was 90 minutes before the phone call, 90 minutes before the phone call, when Jay sent the picture of the two knives. It means Jay would have sent that picture around 6 o'clock in the morning. But according to Ayub, they didn't get to the Airbnb until 6:45 in the morning. Baffling. Timelines are all over the place. There's been a major red flag since the very, very beginning. When you think about the 6 o'clock, that does tie in with what Ophelia said, where she basically says she heard a lot of noise coming from the Airbnb at 6 o'clock. It was either Ophelia or Ophelia's daughter, one of the two. But there was a report confirming that there was a lot of noise coming from the Airbnb at 6 o'clock in the morning, around that time. But again, Ayub claims that they got to the Airbnb around 6:45, 6:45, which means people must have already been at the Airbnb. Now, let's say people were already at the Airbnb. These are people that Jay didn't get along with. Could that be a reason why Jay quickly grabbed the knives? Is that the reason why Jay left in the manner that he did? That doesn't kind of fit with what we've been told by Ayub, because Ayub claimed he was a good host. He gave him a blanket, he gave him a towel, he gave him cigarettes, he told him the sofa's his, he gave him a charger for his phone. Go back to the video of Rocky sleeping in a car. It looks pitch black out there. So that doesn't make any sense how they pulled up at that Airbnb at 6:45 that morning. But as far as the research goes, the sun didn't rise until about 7:10 that day. So it is possible that it still could have been dark. At that point, Jay didn't seem smashed out of his face. It didn't seem like the Jay that we saw in the video when he was in Papagayos with Brandon, Lucy, and Brad around 1:45 in the morning. He did, however, still sound under the influence a little bit. One or two of his words sound a bit slurry. But what did he say in that audio? 2 bottles of Henny to the head, lad. 2 bottles of Henny to the head. 2 bottles of Henny to the head. When I went through the autopsy, and they said that the head trauma was the main cause of death, the first thing that comes to me was that. 2 bottles of Henny to the head. 2 bottles of Henny to the head. What's not making sense to me about the autopsy is that they are confirming that Jay had multiple injuries, but he also suffered a head trauma. Head trauma that he suffered instantly killed him, or he could have been conscious for a short space of time before he died. But they're more or less pinpointing the head trauma as the cause of death. Then means if Jay walked into those mountains and fell, he fell head first. Now, a slight contradiction to that is the Chris Tenerife and his side chick theory, because they kind of claim, or his side chick does anyway, that Jay never kind of fell. Jay never kind of fell from a cliff, like a straight drop. Basically saying that it was kind of like a slope, that Jay went down a slope and was more or less tumbling down. Out of all of the things that could have happened to a person tumbling down a ravine, it was the head trauma, the injury to their head that ultimately caused Jay to die. Look, ladies and gentlemen, we have so much to get through. I think we're going to be here for a number of videos, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, I'm going to edit this part, upload it for you guys, and then I'm going to record the second part. There is so much to actually get through, so do expect the second part to be up as soon as possible. I'll probably do part 3, part 4. We're going to be here for a hot minute, ladies and gentlemen. I need to know exactly what you are thinking. Make sure you leave all your comments down below in the comment section. As I've said multiple times throughout this video, there's going to be plenty more Jay Slater content uploading, so don't go anywhere. Subscribe to the channel if we are newly watching. Turn your notification bells on so you don't miss out on those videos, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.